Hello, my name is Thomas Holland, and this is Throttle House. You're watching the One Track Mind track review series, where we take performance cars like these and push them to the limit on the track to see what they're made of. Usually we like to do two cars that represent polar opposites, like our M2 versus GT350 test. But today, we want to see how the best naturally aspirated sports cars GM has to offer do in an all-out track battle. Say hello to the Camaro SS 1LE and the Corvette Grand Sport. Now, we are aware that there is a big price disparity between these, but since the Camaro costs around 55 grand Canadian and the Corvette is over 83 grand Canadian, we want to find out if the Grand Sport is worth the over $25,000 extra. Now, both of these cars come with a thumping 6.2 liter V8, but while it makes 455 horsepower in the Camaro, it makes 460 horsepower in the Corvette, and 10 more pound-feet of torque. Both have magnetic ride suspension, both have performance limited slip differentials, but this Corvette has the 8-speed paddle shift transmission, which means it has a much more serious 0 to 60 time, down to 3.6 seconds to be exact. So if you are new to One Track Mind, the show goes like this. Colin and I put these cars through their paces, but while I'm more concerned with how fun a car can be, Colin is more interested in how fast a car can be. But before we get out on the track, as always, it's time for a drag race. All right, yo, I'm taking the Corvette.
Why are you taking the Corvette?
Because it's an auto and I suck on the drag strip.
Good point.
Yeah, okay. I called my friend Jeremy over, who's been drag racing for longer than I've been alive, to ask him for a few tips. All right, how do I beat Colin? That's my real question.
What's going to happen here is not only do you not have much prep, you have almost none. So I foresee some spin definitely off of first gear.
Okay.
And my suggestion is to shift as quickly as you can into second if you find that's happening. You may get lucky, it's very hot out, so you might get some stick because the tire has heat. But if you don't, get into second immediately, and I think from there you're going to get some grip and you'll be able to take off from there. Colin, if he makes the mistake of staying in first, will be left behind.
All right, don't tell him. Fist bump.
Fist bump.
All right, peace out. Doing it.
luck.
Let's do it. We ran a few practice runs where I found that the auto Corvette sometimes didn't do exactly what you wanted, and as a result, the Camaro was frighteningly close. I needed to make sure that I didn't mess up the real race. And we're off. Oh, that's a close race. Oh, buddy. I got him. I got him. Bye-bye. 155, 170, 178, 188 kilometers an hour. Oh, man.
Did you screw up again?
No, it wasn't. Everything was fine with that. I still beat you, though.
Not by that much, actually.
Really?
Yeah, not really. You're like maybe 2 cars ahead of me.
That 2 cars is a long distance in a drag race.
Well, not for an automatic with less weight.
That's a good point. He makes a good point. So what we're saying is that the Camaro did a lot better than we thought it did.
Now, what we're saying is the driver did a lot better than we thought it did.
There's no okay, let's just do it again, and I'm going to completely obliterate you. Uh-oh! Come on!
And a win for the Camaro!
Okay, so...
Okay, excuse number 3, go ahead.
Excuse number 3 is coming right now.
Yeah.
So it didn't, like, I released my foot off the brake and it didn't go right away.
Ah.
He's not believing me right now.
The car screwed up again, guys.
The car screwed up, 100%. Also, I went to shift up because I was getting wheel spin and it didn't shift right away. It's like, no, you want to go right to the red line in first. So I sat there like an idiot while I watched you walk away. Anyway, there's your result, people. Basically, this Corvette's obviously capable of winning, but Colin got a better launch once and he beat me. So in the real world, these cars are close enough that we don't exactly know who's going to win every time, right?
Well, the Corvette is clearly the faster car.
The Corvette is a faster car, but in the real world, sometimes the Camaro is going to win.
If you have, you know, all various conditions and variables in play, yeah, absolutely, it can.
So do you think that people are now going to go in the comments and say that either one of us is a terrible driver, and why didn't we use launch control, and why is one guy in a racing suit and one guy not in a racing suit? What am I missing?
Oh, absolutely. I'm too short for the car.
He's
it's a
too
Camaro,
short.
It's too big. I can't drive it.
People don't like my beard.
Yeah.
You know what you should do is just leave a comment, say one of those things. We're going to keep doing these videos, and subscribe. Oh, that's phenomenally fast. Sweet. Braking, downshift, third gear, into the first corner at Toronto Motorsports Park. The rear starts to go a little bit as you turn in. And there's just all the torque you could ever want, ever coming out. I cannot imagine what the faster Corvette feels like. Right away, we're on the track, and I can tell you that this is a really fun car. And it's yellow. We are in full track mode. Traction control is completely off. And oh, good Lord, it's fast. Oh my goodness. The front end feels really light. The position of the engine makes the front really like to turn in. I'm not getting any walk from that front end on turn in. The steering is a little bit lighter than I would like it to be perfectly honest, but we're on the straightaway right now, so I don't care. 178 kilometers an hour without trying. Turn in, oh, the front just dives right in. What a car. All right, this has the 8-speed auto, which I was thinking I was going to be disappointed about, but I'm not, because it's really good. The paddles feel a little bit cheap. They're kind of plasticky. It's the same paddles that are used to turn off the auto rev match feature in the manual, but this, it doesn't really take away from it actually, because the shifts are very fast. Yeah, there's just loads of grip. All right, we've got a 6.2 liter V8. And we turn in and get on the throttle, and the rear goes very quickly. Lovely. Makes a good noise. You can hear the exhaust and you can hear the induction noise. That's what I like. Yeah, it's a proper V8 with 465 pound-feet of torque, and this definitely pulls. Definitely pulls. In the power delivery, even in track mode, the throttle is a little bit more sensitive, but it's very smooth. Since we're in the Grand Sport, we've got all the goodies for the track. This has a differential cooler. It has a dry sump system. It has an electronic digital recording system which will overlay everything, slip angle, turn-in angle, all your data, RPMs, everything into a video, neatly, tidy, exportable on an SD card. That's proper track stuff. That's what I'd like to hear. As a track junkie, this is a car made for me. Now, you've probably heard people say this before, but I'm going to say it again. This is no longer a car that you need to say, oh, well, it's cheap, so it's not quite as good as a supercar. I've driven supercars. This is as good as a supercar. And this isn't even the fastest Corvette. It's not. This is the fastest naturally aspirated Corvette, which I'm a happy guy about because I like NA engines. The digital dash looks amazing. Big speed readout. What gear I'm in is clearly displayed. Sharp graphics. Everything about that is amazing. The interior here actually feels fairly special. There's definitely elements of budget, right? But it doesn't take away from the experience, because when you're on a track, all you see is two bright yellow, lovely fender wells for your front tires, a very small angle of view, and the track ahead of you. The rest is all feel, and that's what I like. It's razor sharp. It really is. And you see a Corvette and you're like, oh, it's long and it's big. It must feel heavy. It really doesn't. It feels like the front tires are with me. They're not out there. So it gives that sense of tightness around a corner. It doesn't want to push. You get corner entry oversteer, which is what you want. Just a little bit off the throttle or a little bit of braking as you enter the corner, and it rotates nicely through, which makes it just exactly what I want. Now, this is most definitely a car that if you are a true track enthusiast, this isn't a car meant to be in garages. This is not a car meant to be finally the car that you buy once you retire and you drive it to the downtown and hang out with other dudes with old cars. It's not that. This is a track-bred monster. It's meant to be out here. It's going to be difficult for me to be able to say that one of these is more fun than the other because they're both excellent cars. But I'm going to try and tell you honestly which one of these cars is more fun to drive at the track. But we are talking about pretty much one roller coaster to another. Both roller coasters are really, really fun. They both make you smile, but one might be a little bit faster or might be a little bit more exciting. But you're still on a roller coaster. All right, the Camaro SS 1LE. This is the one that you want if you go to the track, because it's got a few extra additional add-ons on the outside, some very special wheels, the brakes, the limited slip differential, and some very track-specific stuff. This has basically the same engine as that Corvette with 5 less horsepower. Whether or not I even believe it actually has 5 less, or they're just saying, oh, well, the Corvette has to have more because it can't have the same as the Camaro. But here we are in a car that probably has the exact same horsepower as the Corvette. And yeah, so the Corvette feels a little bit faster in a straight line, but you know what? It's not really that noticeable. And to be honest, this car sounds better. All right, we are gonna put this in track mode, right? So I've got a whole bunch of different driving modes: sport, track, and snow and ice and touring. And then I'm gonna hold down this little traction control button for a couple seconds to make sure that the traction control is completely off. And you know what this car will do? Is it will do one heck of a power slide. It really, really moves the rear end around. All right, straight away third gear. This doesn't quite have the pickup in the lower RPMs just because of the weight that the Corvette does. But you know what? It's still pretty dang good. All right, perfect spacing for heel toes going into the corner. The throttle response is excellent and the gear shift is bang on right. It's small, it's snappy, and everything's covered in Alcantara, which means that it's better. Alcantara is better than everything. Unless you're driving it for a long period of time, then you will wear down this steering wheel pretty quickly. I would wear gloves if I was driving this car long distances. That's the downside of Alcantara, but it certainly looks cool. The front end on this doesn't like to quite turn in as aggressively as the Corvette does, but the advantage to this is that we have a little bit of a different tire setup, so I can rotate the car with the throttle super easily with the Camaro. So this car feels a little bit more playful at the limit than the Corvette does. The Corvette, I think, has a higher limit, and when Colin goes and sets his lap times after this, I have a feeling that the Corvette is, I want the Camaro to win because it's kind of the underdog in the story, but the Corvette certainly feels like it has higher cornering potential. But while we're on the talk of cornering potential and driving this car on the limit, I've driven the old Camaros, and you know what? These new ones are just in a different universe. If you have an old Camaro, sorry to say, you got the wrong car now, because these are so much more responsive. The old Camaro up until 10/10ths feels fine and sounds great, but when you get up there, this car comes alive in a way that the previous generation did not. And if you don't believe me, come drive them back to back on the track. I have, and I'm telling you right now that when you get to the limit in this car, everything just feels butter smooth. The rear rotates, the steering is communicative, the chassis is very, very well balanced. The first new gen Camaro that I ever drove was actually the 2-liter turbo. I was just driving it on the road and I remember thinking, this is a really good chassis. This car is going to be a riot on the track. And you know what? I was right. The front end just darts in. You get a little bit of understeer and you get a lot of rotation on throttle, which I like because that's the fun rotation, right? You just get on the throttle, the rear comes around, and it's communicated through your back and through the steering very well. The steering lightens as it starts to rotate. Toss on some opposite lock, and you know what? You're just flying. Watch, we're gonna go into the first corner here. and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, we're turning in. Rear comes around. That wasn't the best power slide. I've done better, but you know what? This car is easy to drive fast, and that's what I like. Because cars that are challenging are fun, but you know what? They get old after a while because you're constantly fighting them. Old Camaros, that's what it's like. You're fighting the car. These new ones, though, are just well balanced. They're proper driver's cars. There's communication, the noise is good, the engine response is perfect. I cannot say enough good stuff about these. Honestly, I'm not an American car guy. I'm not a V8 guy. I'm more of a flat six, inline six, twin turbo. That's my game. But I would happily own one of these cars as a track toy because, my God, they are so good. Now, Colin's gonna go set some lap times and place your bets right now. I have no idea which one's gonna be faster, but before you watch that, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because we have a lot of One Track Mind episodes like this coming at you through the summer.
All right, it's time to watch the master work. Actually, don't tell him I said that. I'd never hear the end of it. Anyway, let's take a look at Colin wrestling the Camaro to the best time he can possibly set.
So, official time with our Q-Stars GPS,
Yeah.
19.8.
1:19.8. What? What? Oh my God.
Okay, now to see how he does in the Corvette. If you want to see proper data on these laps, head over to thethrottlehouse.com for a full readout.
So, the car that weighs less, has more power, and is an automatic managed to win on the drag strip and on the road course. Are we surprised?
No.
No, but we are surprised that this was close.
It was very close on the drag strip, actually.
Yeah.
Road course, the Corvette definitely had a good margin.
Yes, yeah.
But no, the drag strip, we were surprised. The drag strip we thought would just be a slaughter, and it wasn't.
And it wasn't. When we actually got up to the top end, they were actually really neck and neck, which begs the question, does this actually have 5 less horsepower?
I don't think it does, to
I
be
don't
honest.
think it does either, because they were really close. No official comment on that from us, but we're just saying that this is a very quick car for what they're saying it does. Now, which one did you like better?
I personally liked the Corvette better.
Really?
Yeah, I did, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I honestly didn't see that coming because you are usually a guy that likes a car that moves around a lot. I like the Camaro better. I would take the Camaro.
Well, because the Corvette's lighter, more nimble, it felt more like the scalpel, where the Camaro was like the sledgehammer. I had to work harder to put a lap time down in the Camaro than I did the Corvette.
Okay, that's a good point.
It was easier to drive fast.
See, but like for me, who wasn't out there setting lap times, I was just hooning around, the Camaro was definitely more fun to drive.
I think it's a little more hoonable. You can hang it out more sideways a little easier.
Yes.
It's more of that type of car. It's a muscle car, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, this was an amazingly fun car to drive.
Oh, it is.
But that for me was just wild. I mean, it is kind of like driving while looking through a periscope. Like the visibility is genuinely garbage. It's not that it's amazing in this,
it was
but
actually quite good in this, I thought.
But this is terrible.
This is worse.
Visibility.
I've been in worse cars. So
yes,
it worked for me.
That's honest. Yeah, but you're this tall. So this is honestly the worst car I've ever driven on the track in terms of visibility. But when you're out there, it doesn't actually matter that much. When you're parking, I'm sure it would be an issue. Now the question is this worth $25,000 more?
I guess it all depends on how you want to answer that question.
No is the short answer.
No, listen.
Okay.
Just quiet for a second.
Okay.
So, Depends how you want to answer that. So if you want just pure bang for the buck, it's not worth the extra $25,000.
Okay,
It's a faster car for sure.
Okay, in what scenario then is it worth it?
Well, buying a car is an emotional experience. It's about the driving experience, not just lap times.
Yes.
So, like for example, my 4C, it's the same price as this Corvette. It's not even close to as fast as this Corvette. Yet, you know, it's the driving experience, right? So for me, the Corvette is a lot more of a pure raw sports car. It's more fun to drive for me.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I had the money for both, I would buy the Corvette.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
This fits my personality better. That might be why. It's more hoonable on the track, obviously, right?
It does kind of look like a beard, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah,
Actually, it kind of does. So yeah.
Does it work? I think it looks good.
That makes sense.
Now, the question is that if you are shopping for one of these two cars and you're thinking, do I spend the extra money? I guess the conclusion then is if you're really looking for the emotional experience of owning a Corvette, the fact that it is a Corvette, it's very cool looking, it's more special, then yeah, it might be worth it. But if you're just looking for performance and you want to know which one of these is faster, yeah, it's faster, but not by that much. Because if you put 25 grand into that,
it'll beat the Corvette.
Like it would destroy it.
It would, absolutely,
right?
No questions.
Okay, tell us in the comments, when you subscribe, tell us in the comments which one you would pick. Would you take the Corvette? Would you pay the extra for it? Or would you take the Camaro? Now, we have to, elephant in the room is that obviously you can get a Corvette for less than this because this is the Grand Sport.
Correct, you can get a Stingray for less.
So we don't know exactly how close those would be in times, but we wanted to test like the best of the naturally aspirated versions of these cars to give you guys an idea. So write in the comments which car you would take. Would you take the Corvette? Would you take the Camaro? Would you take a lesser Corvette, not the Grand Sport? I don't know. We would like to hear from you. Make sure you like the video and write a comment. Thank you for watching One Track Mind on Throttle House.
Remember to say you like the Corvette and subscribe.
Bye guys. All right, we're gonna race an M550i. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, it's gone. He's even got me at the top end. What? Ow. This is a Corvette. It's got beaten by a non-M BMW in a straight line. What the hell? And that is the advantage, ladies and gentlemen, of all-wheel drive on a slipperier surface. Oh my God. To be fair, that's a very fast BMW M550i, but I can't believe that he beat me by that much. He literally disappeared off the line. There's an addendum for you.